Welcome back, guys. So as you can see, we have this little style, but something that's kind of inefficient is that we had to copy and paste the same style for each of these links, even though we know that all three of these will have the same style. So, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a way to just do that by defining the style only once and having it apply to all three elements? Well, there it is. So what we can do is, since all three of these is the same, we can say that they're all in the same class of element. So we can say class for them equals, let's say just navbar link, right? Our navigation bar's links. So we want to give the same class to all three of them. And then what we can do is, I don't know if you remember, we created this little style thing in the heading. That can take our styles for a given class. So we can say dot navbar link, that's our class. So the class specifier is a dot. If you don't put a dot, it will look for the element. So if I wanted to make all links, all of these A elements a certain style, I can say A and then define the style. Oops. Okay, I can say A and then define the style. But because it's a class, we can just say the dot navbar link, and then we use open curly brackets, and then press enter, and NetBeans creates the closed curly brackets for us automatically, so it's nice. And then it just takes the same exact thing that we put into the style here, and I'm going to cut it out so that we can just remove the style from here, and here, and here. Okay. And then I can put each of these on a new line now, so it looks a lot nicer, it's spaced out. And I'll save it, and then let's see what it looks like. It looks exactly the same. I have to just check to see, if it's working correctly. One of the things that would be nice on a navigation bar is not to have these little underlining thingies, right? Because, I mean, we're using a link, but we don't want it to seem that way. We want it to seem like tabs or something. So if we don't want the underline part, what we can do is we can have text decoration, and we can say none to that. So that includes any underlining or, it's basically stuff like that. And look at that, there's no more underlining. So that's that. Another thing that might be nice, if you can see, is, so let's just go back, and all these links have been visited, and so they're colored purple, but we don't want them to be purple. We want them to stay black all the time, right? Because we want it to just look like a navigation bar. So what we could do for that is we have our class navbar link, and then we can use a colon, and NetBeans will show you all of these little options, right? And what this means is, like, it's a state of that element. So if navbar link has been visited, we want its font color, or sorry, just color. We want the color to remain black, which is hashtag 0000000. Colon, and we save it. And now if you look at that, it's black, and I can visit it and come back, and it's still black, and that's great. Another thing that we can perhaps do is, so when you go on the link, there's nothing other than the hand changing that really says that, oh, maybe you're hovering over the link. So if you want to give that hover effect, we can use the states property again. So we'll say navbar link, colon, and then if we say hover, so hover is a state. How wonderful is that? Hover, and we can give it a box shadow. Ooh, a box shadow. Okay, so what's the easiest way to do a box shadow? because I can't remember how to properly define box shadows. So what I do is I type into Google CSS3 box shadow generator. And you can pick any one of these because they all work relatively simply. And I can see, so this kind of shadow is fine. Maybe I don't want it to be so far away. That's good. Maybe I want a bigger blur, so it's a bit softer. And decrease the opacity a little bit, so it's a bit softer. Great. And it gives us our CSS right here. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it and save myself some headache. Couple of things here. As you may notice, it has this little WebKit thing and then a little Moz thing. These are for non-standard CSS properties. So the way HTML works is that you have all this text and then the browser does the rendering. So the browser reads the text and knows what you mean by it, right? So the browser does the rendering, and when properties aren't when the properties are not standard. So like box shadow has now become a part of the CSS3 standard, but when it wasn't, so older versions of browsers wouldn't know that it's a standard. Each browser comes up with its own way to do a certain property. So this is for Firefox. Mozilla had its own box shadow property, and WebKit, which is I think Chrome and Safari are based on it, have their own box shadow property. So this basically covers us for any old browsers that might be trying to access the website, so that it behaves in the same way that the CSS3 box shadow property would. If we go back to our website and we hover, you can see that there's a little shadow now, and isn't that nice? And it reverts back to normal when you're not hovering over it, so that's great. But when I click on it, it doesn't really do anything, you know? Maybe it would be nice if it looked like the button was pressing in. So there's another property that we can use. If we do a navbar link and we give it a state of active. Active is while it's being pressed down on. And this time we want the shadow to be inside, right? That means that we would like, if we go into optional settings, an inset shadow. Ooh, okay, so how do we want that inset shadow? Let's go into main settings. We want to give it an angle of, let's do 0 degrees. How does that look? Not bad. I'll do a distance of 0, so it's nice in the middle. And I'll do a smaller blur, maybe 10 pixels. Let's make it 15. Okay. No, let's leave it 10. Our buttons are kind of small. Perfect. And now I'll just copy this. As you can see, it added a little inset in there. Format and save, and let's see. It looks great, right? It's being pressed in. It gets a little dark. Wonderful. I want to do one more property. So what if we want these corners of the boxes to be a little curved, right? There's something else you can do for that. But because that's another one of those properties like box shadow that was implemented in browsers individually before it was actually implemented in CSS3, we can get another generator type deal. So if I do rounded corner CSS generator, I don't know what I was typing there, generator, right? Borderradius.com, how wonderful is that? So I get WebKit, Gecko, and CSS3. That's great. Let's give a border radius of 5. And that's all it is. I just like to... Oh, and we're going to put it in the normal one because we want the normal links to be rounded corners. And bam! Nice little rounded corners. And if I click on it, it goes in and it looks beautiful. Well, thanks for watching. In the next tutorial, we'll try to make this even easier, and we'll keep building on this. So thank you for watching. Rate, comment, and subscribe.